Section 17.1 is on the history of classification. So the main idea for this particular section is that biologists use a system of classification in order to organize information about the diversity of living things. Early systems of classification. Classification is where we group objects or organisms based on a set of criteria. So in other words, it may be by their shape, it may be by their genetic makeup. Who knows particularly how we're going to group things together, because sometimes people just group them based upon their own ideas of how things should be put into groups. Biologists use a system of classification in order to organize information about the diversity of all living things. So, who is the guru or the father of classification? Well, we're not quite there yet. Aristotle, he was a Greek philosopher, and more than 2,000 years ago, he developed a classification system. Basically, he classified things based on whether they were plants or animals. So he used a very simplified way to classify things. He said animals are divided into red-blooded or bloodless, and then by their habitat. And as you can see, plants were divided by whether they were herbs, which is soft stems, shrubs, which is a little bit of a harder stem, and then by trees, which would be their trunk. All right, so the father of classification, his name is Linnaeus. And the system he came up with, which is called Systema O Naturale. So Linnaeus' system of classification was based on observations of morphology and habitat. Remember, habitat is where they live. The Linnaean system was the first formal system of taxonomy, and taxonomy is the discipline of identifying, naming, and classifying organisms. And you can see we've got domain, which is the largest category, up to the smallest category, which is species. There's a specific way that we attach a name to a specific organism, and that's called binomial nomenclature. Linnaeus came up with this naming method, and it gives every species a scientific name that has just two parts. The first part is called the genus, and the second part is called the species. So biologists use scientific names for species because common names vary in their use. So there's your genus right here, and then your species, and this in a very common type of name is called your house cat. When writing a scientific name, scientists use these particular rules, and they're always written the same way. The first letter of the genus name always is capitalized, but the rest of the genus name and all the letters of the species are in lowercase. In a scientific name, when it is written in a printed book or magazine, it needs to be italicized, and that's kind of the letters that go in a slanted form. When a scientific name is written by hand, both parts of the name should be underlined. And finally, after the scientific name has been written completely, then you can abbreviate it. So the genus is then abbreviated to the first letter in the later appearance. All right, so modern systems of classification. A modern system of classification is rooted in what's called the Linnaean system. And as the study of evolution grew, scientists began using evolutionary relationships in their systems. So as you can see, this is your common aardvark, and then this is what it used to look like. Taxonomy is broken down into different categories based upon size, and one kind of nests into the other category. So, the taxonomic categories used by scientists are part of a nested hierarchical system. Each category is contained within another, and they are arranged from the broadest to the most specific. So the broadest category is domain, and the most specific category is going to be species. Species and genus are, once again, the two-word name that we assign to an organism. A group of organisms is called a taxon. A genus is a group of species that are closely related and share a common ancestor. Then we have family. So once again, species is the smallest, then it's genus, then we're going to family. Family is the next higher taxon consisting of similar genre. Genre refers to genus. Next comes order, and you can see species is specific, then we have genus, then we have family, and all of these, species fits into genus, genus fits into family, family groups fit into orders. A class contains related orders. A phylum or division, division is for specifically for plants, division, they fit into finally the largest one, well, not really the largest one, but the largest one that we talk about is going to be kingdom. The very broadest category is called a domain, and there are only 3 domains that exist. So everything fits into a specific domain.